Deep within a bleak and dismal era, hidden within the murky internet, lies the headquarters of the most sinister peaks of all time. A Legion on Zoom.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Legion on Zoom. As always and forever, this is Trez.
Oh, you changed it up a little bit. This
Nice.
is Miguel.
Rejuvenated, and this is Rod. What's
Facts,
up?
man. Facts.
Yes.
And even though I do have that joyous tone in my voice, but that's just because I'm happy to be here with you guys as always. This is a bit of a somber episode because a recent anniversary is upon us. I'm not sure. It's not today, right? Did it pass or is it coming or?
No, it was already a few days ago.
Yeah. And
2 days ago.
Yeah,
And by the time this episode comes out, it'll be like a week ago. So
Yeah.
a week ago.
Right.
Yeah. So we apologize for that. But yeah, it's one of the saddest days in all of comicdom. It is the 2-year anniversary of the passing of Stan the Man Lee. And whether you're a DC fan, whether you're a Marvel fan, whether you're an Image fan, whether you're a Wildstorm fan, I don't care what your favorite house of publishing is. You're all true believers, and we all felt it that day. And it's one of the darkest days. It's one of the darkest days in comicdom, maybe the darkest day in comicdom. And I'm getting goosebumps even just talking about it.
Yeah, I agree. I'll just add because I think it's been obviously 2 years, right? You know, it was November 12th, 2018 when he passed away, and I'd agree that it's dark. I wouldn't say it's the darkest day because if anything, it is a good day to remember him, like, and it's a good day to celebrate him because I will say, yo, man, like he died when he was 95 years old. You know,
Word.
the life he lived, you know, the legacy he left behind. You know, like, oh my God, like he got to see, you know, his creations come to life, right, and even have cameos. I'm like, it's a dark day because he was obviously like the father of all of this, but it's like, you know what? I'm 95. He lived a good life. You know, I hope he passed peacefully. Obviously, I remember like it's shock when it happened. You know, it's like of course it's like, you know, losing, you know, a close, you know, family member. But it's like you know, good for him. I hope he's resting, you know, and just living his best afterlife, whatever it might be.
Right. I was going to share similar sentiments. The day of is definitely a sad, dark day, right? I remember like getting texts from random people, like my condolences. I'm like, yo, what the hell? What happened? Who died? I'm thinking it's like a family member or some shit. But yeah, it's Stan Lee. But at the same time, you know, like Jess was saying, like it's all part of one big collective Marvel family. And whatever, if you're a fan of fiction, if you're a fan of American culture, if you're a fan of humanity, you can appreciate Stan Lee's work, right? It's been 6 decades of work. And then, like, come on, how many kids are dressed up as Spider-Man for Halloween? Like, it's part of the American cultural fabric, and now it's a worldwide phenomenon, right? And not just Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, like all these really popular, amazing, timeless characters that people, you know, pull out their wallets for each and every time a new action figure or movie or cartoon or video game, maybe except for the Avengers video game though. I've been hearing stuff about that.
I'm actually glad that Stan Lee wasn't alive
to see that. Yeah,
to see this because we were so hyped about it, right? And the most recent news was that 96% of the players that they've had have like dropped out, right, from playing, like except like Chess, pretty much.
Yeah,
and you know what?
4%.
Yeah, and you know what I'll say? Just like we, as 3 Hispanic men, happen to be statistical outliers, I will continue to be a statistical outlier and be amongst the 4% that play this shitty fucking game.
Damn, you guys are making me never want to even play it again. What the fuck?
No, but okay, that's what I'm saying. Like wait until you play it, like until we play it together. Because it just like it doesn't draw you in. I think that's what it is. Like the bar is set so high nowadays for epic ass fucking games that like savagery commences if it doesn't meet that highest bar. You know what I mean? People, I think They thought it was gonna be like a Skyrim version of the Avengers or some shit, you know, or like something that big and elaborate. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I just want to play co-op.
I wonder if Stanley gets a cameo. He got a cameo in the Spider-Man game, right, Miguel? Did he get a cameo in that game?
I think so, but
Why
I
do I
don't
remember it?
I don't remember exactly what it was. Damn.
Oh man.
Well,
But yeah, I wonder if he gets a cameo in the Avengers. If any of the fans have played it through or anybody knows, please let us know. But speaking about cameos, you know, Stanley has made, you know, it became a meme. He just popping up in everything, right? From, I guess, except Blade, right? Because Blade was kind of like before the renaissance of comic book movies. They just took over, you know, culture. But you know, from X-Men and Spider-Man, he appeared in all the films and then all the MCU films. So I want to ask you guys, of all the cameos, which is your favorite?
Whoa, there's god damn, there's so many. I think, Jesus, I think I know which one's my favorite one. I think out of that, it's a tough choice for sure, but I do think my favorite one, I think it's from the first Guardians of the Galaxy, I think it was, where he's just chilling with the Watchers, right? And like with his spacesuit, no? And then just like,
damn it, you took my answer.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's ultimate, because that's exactly where he belongs, right? Like that.
Also, you took my reason.
Yo, great minds think alike, bro.
Facts.
Yo, also because it's like, because I felt like that wasn't even like a cameo, like, you know, because all the other times we've seen it, it's like it's Stan Lee acting as somebody else, right? It's not like Stan Lee for real, right? Like it was like the Iron Man, right? It was like some kind of like Hugh Hefner type person. Yeah. I felt for this one, this is actually the Stan Lee.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah, watching his creations and sharing it with the Watchers, like I love that.
Exactly. Yeah, like basically, yeah, like completely piggybacking off of what Miguel said, is essentially for those same reasons. That would be my favorite cameo, because it's kind of like, it kind of gave the impression like he was working for the Watchers the whole time. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of cool when you think about it. And just on a quick side note, I want to say that I remember what happened when I found out. I was at work when I found out that Stan Lee died. I literally got up from my desk, went to the bathroom, and I cried. Like legit. Like it got to me that much when I found out it happened. Like I couldn't hold it in. I got up from my desk at work, I went to the bathroom, and I shed actual tears.
All right. So speaking about shedding tears, I think my favorite Stan Lee cameo is the Into the Spider-Verse cameo, because I was leaning toward the same one you guys picked, because that one was fucking cool and hilarious. But the Into the Spider-Verse one where he sells Miles a Spider-Man costume, come on. Like that was one of the most emotional moments in all the Marvel films that we've ever had. So I'll pick that one, and a close second place would be I think it's Endgame, where when Steve who's into the past, it's Tony and Steve, right? They go back into the past, and they see like a younger Stan Lee, like from the 70s. You guys remember this?
Oh shit! I don't
remember buying a car.
Yeah.
He's like, peace and love or something.
Yes.
But yeah, that was cool because like they de-aged him. They used that same, you know, awesome special effects that they do. So like they did it on what's his face? Hank Pym.
Yes, exactly. Michael Douglas.
That's right.
Yeah, damn. That I love that. That exactly. That was a good one too. Shit. Stan Lee and I remember too. Like I remember I was at home. Because I think I noticed either late in the day or something, or I think that's when I got confirmation of the news. I remember just being at home. I was doing work. I remember like it was just a crappy day, working late, still at home, and I got the news, and it was like fuck. Like I remember like just getting shocked. I do think I shed some tears too, and I remember just like also like Rod too, like getting text messages from people, like, you know, letting me know like their condolences and that kind of stuff, which I thought was sweet. But it was a big fucking moment. I do think like that was, I'll never forget that.
Yeah, and like you said, he was 95 years old. So I was kind of, you know, waiting for that to happen.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, because you make it that far, you know, like props to him.
Yeah, and there had been already, I think before that, I think for almost a year maybe, like discussions and rumors and gossip about like him being kind of like sick, and there was some controversy about like that he shouldn't be going out to the cons and doing the rounds of signing, because they were thinking it might have been like elder abuse, that the people who were managing his, whatever it's called, his estate, was like kind of forcing him to go do it, and he was like, maybe, so there was, I don't know if that was ever confirmed or not, but like, it was at that point where you're like, all right, he's an older man, he's getting older by the minute, exactly. So it was going to happen, but exactly, he lived a fantastic life, and I'm glad that he got to see everything that he got to see, and just like all the things he helped to co-create. So fucking so great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, just one more point. I'm sorry, Chaz. One more point. He's also one of the very few creators to stake a valid claim at a character that he created under a big publishing company. Because usually you create a character for DC Comics or Marvel Comics, they own that character, no matter how popular. Like Miles Morales, right? That's a Marvel creation created by Brian Michael Bendis. But I feel like there was a strong push to give Stan Lee his due. And I know he had like tons of legal battles with Marvel trying to get like some of that Spider-Man money. So yeah, and the fans rallied behind him too, because that's one of the reasons why Image Comics, was created, because artists and creators, they were feeling like shortchanged, because you make these multi-billion-dollar properties, and there are some creators right now that can't even afford like their own healthcare.
Wow, those massive companies are just raking in the money.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually didn't know about Stan Lee like that, because I always felt that Stan Lee was kind of part of the problem a little bit to some degree, because he eventually, I think, was like at some point, like, he was Marvel Comics, right? Because he was there before it was even really called Marvel Comics. I don't remember exactly what it was called before. And I thought that he owned the rights for his stuff. I don't know the details about the legal stuff, but I do know, but then after like him getting rights for that kind of stuff, I know like it's very rare, especially for these big companies, for Marvel and this DC, to let new people own some of the rights. I actually don't even know. I think Brian Michael Bendis might actually own some of the rights of Miles. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not, right? Like shit.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not like completely,
Well, I mean, whether he was like a pioneer or part of the problem, you just can't deny the fact that he was, while he was breathing, an actual like a living legend in so many, like in every sense of the word. Because think about it, he died at 95, right? That was like the age he passed away, you guys said?
Yeah.
So imagine seeing the entire industry from like when he started into comic books, all the things he created, the ups and downs, the censorship battles, all of that. And then talk about going out on a high note, seeing that the entire development of the MCU, dude, from seeing like comic books coming into like the modern format, which was essentially, like from a strip to like an actual book, then seeing them go to a digital format, then seeing characters that you created be made into like a world unto itself that people would like to an extent die for. Like it's insane. Talk about going out on a high note. That's a life well lived. Like it's wild. It's when you really think about it, the thing he got to see, the progression, it's hard to fathom. It's hard to fathom. It's insane. It's insane. And then also, when you come and think of it, you really wouldn't have, without Stan Lee, you really wouldn't have one of the comic OGs, which would be Kevin Smith. So,
right. I think Miguel's researching. Did you find anything? I was trying to look at like the legal battles between Marvel and Stan Lee, but there's so many articles.
Yeah, no. I wasn't looking that up. I was just double checking some other stuff. But I agree with everything that Chess was saying. And obviously, I don't want to talk shit about the man, right? Like obviously he's a great. And the only thing about that, right? Because everybody, he's human, right? Like everybody is flawed.
Right.
Nobody's fucking perfect. Obviously he did fucking the great that he's done will outlive anything that he might have done negatively. But like, if that's the case, right? But like, for example, I remember one of the big things that, because he also was a very good voice in terms of like the counterculture in those moments, and kind of pushing for like civil rights and stuff like that. And really, because I remember having, like, he had those Stan soapboxes, right? That they were in all these comic books.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they were really well written, like, you know, pro fucking just like be a good person, fucking like little vignettes that he would write, you know. And because I know that after he passed away, they just started como se dice, like reprinting those soapboxes in the comic books now, right? And which is nice, you know. Stan was fucking great, man. Fucking loved him.
And now an even harder question than your favorite cameo. What's your favorite Stan Lee creation?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about already. We obviously know Miguel's choice, so I'm
Hell
gonna
yeah.
go first. I'm gonna go with the Fantastic Four.
Nice.
I've always
Yeah.
had a soft spot for Fantastic Four, and this goes way back to like, I don't know, I must have been like 5 or something, or even, I don't even know. But on Cartoon Network, they would show like the really old school Fantastic Four cartoon. You remember that? Like, I don't know if it's Hanna-Barbera or something, but they were like short 15-minute, like,
I think it might have been.
like
Damn,
adventures.
really?
And I just loved the concept. Like, they're a family and they all have like a different power. And like, aside from the Thing, they just go back and forth between like their meta forms and their human forms. I thought that whole shit was awesome. Like, and this is before I realized that Spider-Man is associated with these characters. I just thought that alone was really cool. So for sure, the Fantastic Four.
Completely agree. Like, if obviously for me it's Spider-Man, but like a close second or even tied with Spider-Man for me would be Fantastic Four. Exactly. I think because also, you know, because I think we've talked about this before in previous episodes, but like, you know, because they are truly the first family of Marvel Comics, and this created basically Marvel Comics. And because I think I've mentioned this before, because this is why I think I love this so much, because the story behind how he created the Fantastic Four, he chose to write him, was because he was going to quit. Like, he was going to quit Marvel Comics, if that was the name of, I don't think that was the name of the company at the time. I don't actually remember that well, but like, I remember he wanted to quit because he was just writing, like, I think most of these like cowboy type stuff that was like in fad at that time. And he wanted to tell a story of, yeah, people with powers and stuff like that, but making it more realistic, more human. He like wanted to be a family that had family issues, right? And that kind of stuff. And I remember like what was really cool, that apparently his wife, Joan Lee, who actually, they were married this whole fucking forever. Like, from, I actually just looked it up on Wikipedia, from 1947 to 2017 when she passed away.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then she passed away a few years before him, you know? Like, imagine that, like the life he led. And she encouraged him. She was like, look, if you're gonna quit, just write the book you want to write. Like, just do it. Just fucking do it. It'll be the last book you do, and then you're out. And he's like, you know what? Fuck it. All right. He did it, right, with Jack Kirby. And then fucking
shout out to Jack Kirby.
Yeah. And then shout out
Kirby.
And shout out to Steve Ditko, who co-created Spider-Man with him. You know, like, and then that just fucking exploded. Then everything just from there created, and then they were just like, yeah, Stan, like, do more stuff like that, right? And adding, because back in those days, those kinds of stories, right, of that kind of human element in comic books about, like, yeah, they have powers, but they're a family. Like, Johnny Storm's a teenager. The Thing is dealing with being disfigured, right? And his relationship with Reed Richards, like, kind of blaming him for it, and Reed carrying the guilt. Like, that wasn't in comic books before. Like, comic books before were like Cape and Cal, just fucking beat him up and we're good.
Yep, and the comedic duo of Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm.
Yeah.
Like, I always love that shit too. And they added to the lore by giving them children, you know, then making like Doctor Doom. What's the girl's name? Valeria, named after Doctor Doom's mom or something like that.
Right.
I'm like, okay, like, these guys are they're always fighting each other like a real family. Even Doctor Doom is part of this twisted meta-human family in some weird way.
No, yeah, because Doctor Doom is her godfather. Yeah, so they're like, yeah, they're
Wow.
part of the family. Yeah, exactly. No, and I love it because it's really cute because she has like a direct line to Doctor Doom, and she like's on the phone sometimes with him, like in this awesome like virtual kind of like holographic phone, but just like I think she calls him like Uncle Doom or something. Like it's just
Word. He's
awesome.
like, Reed, I hate you. Valeria, hello. Fucking on a
Yes,
throne somewhere.
exactly.
Damn, I'm honestly torn between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange.
Ooh,
And
good ones.
I might be leaning towards Doctor Strange just because it addresses a whole corner of the universe that people tend to forget about. You know what I mean? Like it addresses a hierarchy, it gives a sense of purpose to the whole magic thing. And and like I've stated in past episodes, Doctor Strange has had one of the hardest climbs like in all of comic book lore to become who he is. You know what I mean? He's just had a really impressive career. And plus, to an extent, at times I feel like the Strange books, they kind of deal with more philosophical topics, a la the Silver Surfer books too. It's not your average just, like good and bad guy. It deals with like actual like the true forces of good and evil. You know what I mean? On a more like primal level.
Yo, that would have been another good pick, dude. Silver Surfer, because you're right.
Yep,
Because like
yeah.
with Silver Surfer, he was able to also explore fucking trippy ass stuff.
I
Like
almost went Silver Surfer. I was thinking about it.
but yeah, exactly. But with Doctor Strange, exactly, it's that nice middle ground between that and then leading to the more spacey, psychedelic type of stuff that he started to write with Silver Surfer. That's a good choice, man.
But yeah, definitely. I think it would have to be like Stephen Strange. Yeah.
He created Thanos? Probably, right?
No.
No?
That was Jim Starlin. Jim Starlin created
Yes.
Thanos. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because actually when we were talking
Shout out to Jim Starlin.
about the rights and that kind of stuff, that's always something for me. That's always like a little bit of it's just a shock, right? Jim Starlin created Thanos. He wrote the Infinity Gauntlet story, and he's written really great seminal Thanos books. And obviously, well, he doesn't own the rights. So, but I do think they've given him, some change, from the movies or something. Yeah, but Jim Starlin, shout out.
And it's pretty obvious that we all love Stan Lee. Like, how can you not? I've never heard someone ever utter a bad word about the man, aside from maybe Miguel a few minutes ago. But
I didn't say shit.
yeah, you did. But just moving forward.
I heard he was like pinching nurses' butts in like nursing homes and shit.
He's Stan the man, Lee.
I'm pretty
I'm
sure
not
the
making
nurses.
that up. Look it up.
I'm pretty sure the nurses were requesting it. They're like, "Yo, shit,
Right.
stand the man Lee."
Word.
It's the Stan.
That
the
hand
man.
is worth $1 billion. I mean, you better get pinched.
Exactly.
Excelsior AF. So,
Like, do
just-
all old dudes get pervy? What do you guys think? Is that like inevitable? You become a pervy old dude, like that Family Guy character?
I would s-
No.
I would say it's a two-way split. You're either bitter or pervy, or bitter and
Like
pervy.
Walter Matthau?
So Stanley, of course, inspired a whole cornucopia. Trying to be fancy here, with of like different creators and artists and things of that nature. It would be impossible to name who wasn't inspired by Stan Lee. You can safely say that in this day and age, almost every single creator was slightly to some extent, maybe inspired by Stan Lee or a Stan Lee co-creation.
Of
Now,
course.
yeah, exactly. So with that said, who are some of your other creators that you guys just wouldn't be able to live without, whether they be writers, artists, publishers, what have you?
And also a quick mention. I remember the first time I heard Stan Lee's voice because I had seen, like Miguel mentioned, like the soapbox at the end, the credits, the soapbox at the end, the editorials. But I remember I bought like a cassette tape of Spider-Man stories. I remember putting that in the cassette player. That's just to go show you how old some of us are here. We had cassette players, and it's just like he introduces the story and he calls you a true believer, and he has that great voice that's just like you could tell he's a storyteller by trade. And I was like, oh shit, so that's Stan Lee. And then then you start seeing him like on TV, as Marvel starts blowing up and the internet starts taking over, and we have more access to information about these creators. But yeah, I'll never forget that.
Yeah,
R.I.P. Stan.
yeah,
Facts.
hell yeah. And then Jesus Christ, you're right though. Like Stan has influenced so many people, and there's so many great creators that have, you know, stood on his shoulders and then the shoulders of the next ones, and then just kept creating, kept giving us new stories. But I do want to ask, so right now we're thinking about who are top, like who's our top creator, obviously after Stan. But
Word.
are we thinking, are these creators that literally created new characters that did not exist, a la Stan Lee, or creators just like, well, writers that wrote new stories of people that we already knew and loved? Like, what are we? Because
It would definitely have to be the latter, because
Right.
the former would make the pool very small.
I already got my pick for that first one, though. I'm just gonna say
Let's-
right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, for me, if it has to be people who create new characters, no brainer, have to give it to Brian Michael Bendis. Right? Because obviously he's most well known for having created Miles Morales Spider-Man. Like he was able to obviously it's like a copy paste, of course, of Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Right,
that
right,
was
right,
about
right.
to.
But he added his own flair to it, his own twist to
True,
it, new
true.
powers, and really well. But another incredible thing about him though too is also just googling that to double check. He also created a bunch of characters that I wasn't even sure about. First of all, he actually created Ronin, right? The version of Hawkeye as Ronin. He created Maria Hill. Like Maria Hill did not exist in the comic books until he did that, and a bunch of other like Shield type, because he created the Secret Warriors team. He created some pretty cool new X-Men characters, Tempest and Gold Balls, which are part of the five that I mentioned the other day about those who
Yeah.
make you immortal. And well, like in Riri Williams also too. I wasn't a big fan. Oh, and Jessica Jones as well. He created Jessica Jones. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like
Damn,
that's.
he created Jessica Jones.
So I'm like, all right.
That's his Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like Jessica Jones would be his Spider-Man. Then if you think about it, through the
Yeah.
list, it definitely wouldn't be Gold Balls. It'd be Jessica Jones.
But you're right. But there's really not that many other creators that have created true new characters, right? Like, unless you guys have any other
Yeah.
thoughts on
Well, so let's start with writers, right? Since you went first with Brian Michael Bendis, he's definitely on my top 3 all time. But my favorite writer, who I seldom talk about, maybe I have in the past, but it's Mark Miller. I got introduced to his work. I think it was The Ultimates, which is still one of my all-time favorite Marvel books. And then later on, it was like Kick-Ass, Super Crooks. He has a whole bunch of Wanted, a whole bunch of original work, because he's written some bombs like, and Civil War, the first one, the comic book version. He wrote that. And to me, that's still one of the best Marvel comic stories. So his work, with Marvel was amazing with the Ultimates and whatnot. And then, he started doing his own things like Kick-Ass. So I would always, pick up his original books because they're always really good reads. Everything, like Netflix just bought like all his Millerverse characters because they know that they're all well written and well done. He did one, Nemesis, which is he did it with the same artist that did Civil War, Steve McNiven. Yeah, he did that one, and that one is like a Batman. What if Batman was a villain story? And again, he's just playing on a familiar trope, but he does it so well, and then that one is being turned into a show too. So it's a really good book. I highly recommend it. I could speak forever about this guy. He's just amazing, and I'm glad he's doing his own thing and making tons of money.
Hell yeah. No, and I love exactly because that's another fucking great creator. You're like, and then because obviously he's had the advantage of not working in like he's created characters outside of the big companies, right? Outside of Marvel and DC, and these characters that have spawned movies, franchises, like fucking. Cause I think he also created the Kingsman, no, and that's already,
Right,
like,
right. I was trying to think of
Oh,
all
wow.
these
Yeah.
titles. I'm like,
That's
there's
crazy.
so many.
and there's already what 2-3 movies for those, right? And like you mentioned, Kick-Ass and all that. Like I think I mentioned to you guys a while back that I read one of his most recent ones that came out called The Magic Order, which is being made into a show for Netflix. Like from what you just mentioned, which is the artist is with one of my favorite artists, Olivia Coipel. Beautiful fucking book, awesome story about just like wizards and witches in modern day times, and it's just great, and it's incredible all the stuff that he can just create and the depth of his characters in there. So that is a great choice of a great creator.
Yeah, he did some Spider-Man work too that wasn't bad. It's on Marvel Unlimited. It's a Marvel Knights Spider-Man
Right,
with
word.
really a pretty artwork by Terry Dodson. Shout out.
I myself, believe it or not, I actually don't have a favorite comic book writer. My favorite authors usually tend to be on the side of like books without pictures, which Rod, I believe the correct word would be abhors. Like, is it that bad, right? Like,
Absolutely.
okay. Um, but yeah, so I would lean more towards having favorite artists, and I would be torn between Jim Lee and Michael Turner, which are those guys basically draw in 4K. It's insane. I don't even know how human beings could even sketch like shit like that. It's like when you look at their art, is like you're looking at like like it's like if you were to take away the ink, it's like it was done by Da Vinci. Like it's insane. Like it's I would say Jim Lee and Michael Turner, but I would lean towards Michael Turner because he draws the most beautiful characters ever. Too bad he's no longer with us, passed away a few years ago. I believe that we referred to him in the last episode, but yeah, it would definitely be Michael Turner would be my top artist of all time. Then it would be
And we've referred to him before too, because I'll never forget that you said that you think he drew the prettiest Hulk.
I was about to say that Hulk, that is the GQest Hulk. That Hulk, my God. But yeah, and also his Flash is insane. My favorite poster is the Michael Turner Flash, where he's just standing there, but it's so well done that it looks like he just ran up into the poster and stopped, like in motion. But yeah, and his Batman, oh my God, good Lord, yeah. No, actually, I was thinking about Jim Lee when I said Batman. Jim Lee's Batman, it looks like when they talk about Batman in the comic books and his physique, they say like the man, like he looks like he's made out of marble. Jim Lee actually draws that. His bat suit looks so thin on him. Yeah, so I would say Jim Lee or Michael Turner, but top artist, I would say Michael Turner. Third place, Humberto Ramos.
Nice. Another frequent artist you drop on the show. Yeah, we know you love Humberto. And
I like his
actually,
shit.
yeah, and you can check out some of our last posts, right? Because like for the promo ad for the previous episode, right? That's where we have Michael Turner doing the Justice League from the Identity Crisis cover, and then I think you recently uploaded a Thanos picture with drawn by Humberto Ramos.
Yeah,
so
yeah, and I drop his name all the time, but the reason why I like his art is because unlike Jim Lee and Michael Turner, where theirs is almost like uber realistic, his art is dynamic, but it's also cartoony. You know what I mean? Like it's not too serious, but it's also very well defined. It's like he's almost on the opposite side of the spectrum of those guys because his art possesses a lot of like rounded edges, which I'm a fan of. So it's kind of like a high def chibi art, to use like a throwback term from like anime. But yeah, like it's almost like on two sides of the fence. That's why I'm such a big fan. It's the contrast, I guess you can say.
Yeah, Michael Turner had some great art. He did the main cover for, well, I don't know if it was the main or the variant for Civil War #1 with Mark Miller. And I also really liked I know a few episodes back I spoke about Superman Batman Public Enemies. That's volume 1 with Jeff Loeb. Another great creator worth mentioning. So yeah, so he did that. That was Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness. Volume 2, I think, was Supergirl with Michael Turner and Jeff Loeb. And his Batman actually was pretty like sleek, really cool looking. They tried to adapt Michael Turner's art style for the animated version of that storyline, which actually came out pretty cool as well. Has a great scene in that arc with Batman, his ultimate contingency, plans, him versus Darkseid. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh my god.
He's like, he has like some of what's that dude Orion's like armor on, barely protecting him or some shit.
Oh yeah,
like that.
that's where Batman fights Darkseid, right?
Yeah.
And then he gets to the part with the eggs that is like, if you attack me,
Right.
He beats Darkseid technically.
Yeah.
Technically.
In that moment, right? And then the fight continues.
Yeah.
It goes back to Earth. So yeah, fans should definitely check that for the artwork and for the great writing.
Facts. Yeah, oh my god, the art in that is amazing. And I mean, I think we've pretty much established who like our favorite publishers are. I mean, I'm obviously a DC fan as always, but however, I will say this, even though my favorite characters happen to be from DC, the publishing house that I respect the most would be Image. Because, like Rod had mentioned earlier, they empowered the creators. You know what I mean? The guys who actually do the work. Fuck these executives. Fuck these talent scouts. Because the creators are the people that are being scouted and hired. They're the actual artists. You know what I mean? And Todd McFarlane showed that, yeah, we are creators, but we could also run a business. We don't need the top brass. We can make our own money. So even though I am a DC fan, I give the most props to Image.
Facts. I couldn't agree more. Exactly. And that's how they started, right? Because it was a bunch of creators from Marvel. I think mostly Marvel. I think some from DC that decided to be like, yeah, fuck you guys. We're going to start our own company. And they fucking did it. And they're very successful. And it's awesome.
What are some of the creations to come out of Image? I mean, I could think of Spawn. What else?
Well, we just mentioned a bunch from Mark Miller, right? Like a lot of his books came from Image
Image
books.
Comics.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. I forgot about that.
But
Then you had Robert Kirkman with The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah, that's Image. That's Image.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, dude. And then a lot of I think that these big like Saga is from Brian K. Vaughan, Saga and his work from Paper Girls is all Image and we have from from Robert Kirkman, we also have Invincible. That's fucking from Image as well.
You know what it is? I've noticed. Okay, I think I just hit the nail on the head, and you guys just proved it. Image puts the work first and their name last. Marvel and DC put their logo first and the work last. Like, you get what I mean? Like, that's like the vibe that I just got. Like, at Image is like I said, like I wasn't even aware that some of those titles were Image for some reason, but I was aware of those titles. Usually it's the reverse. I know what's Marvel, what's DC, and then I know what's under it.
And like Savage Dragon by Eric Larson.
Throwback.
Yeah.
Throwback.
Eric Larson did some of my all-time favorite artwork on Spider-Man, like back in the 90s.
Hell yeah.
A lot of Spider-Man artists. Todd McFarlane had a great run on Spider-Man. Like some of the prettiest covers that we still see to this day.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and the other thing I think that makes it a little bit confusing for Image Comic is that they have like mini studios within Image Comics. So I think like Robert Kirkman has like Skylight or something like that. And so sometimes the branding will say Image and Skylight or something, and something will be pop up more than the other. And so that's why it's also a little bit confusing, because that's cool too, because they even allow like artists to create like their own little, publishing houses within Image, and like, because Mike McFarlane has his own, stuff, where it's Spawn and Spawn related books and that kind of stuff.
And the overly priced toys.
Yes. But fucking great toys though.
Yeah, they're not making DC action figures, which, they all look really well articulated and really pretty. But yeah, I mean, and I can't talk about like favorite creators without talking about Jeff Johns, because my favorite publisher is also DC Comics, and it's a large part of that is because of his work on Green Lantern, which is still, arguably my all-time favorite comic book run, and his work on the Teen Titans, which I ate all that up. He's written all these great like event stories like Infinite Crisis and Rebirth. That was a great recent book that he was able to elicit some emotional response.
Oh, facts,
With-
yo. I love
With
Rebirth, man. Rebirth was amazing.
wait, who drew that one? That was a Fabok, right?
Oh, I think so,
Or was it Gary
right?
Frank? I don't
Le-
know.
Oh,
Gary
le-
Frank did Doomsday.
By the way, quick asterisk. In Rebirth, one of the most epic scenes in comic book history, when Oliver Queen grabs Hal Jordan's ring and attempts to use it and fires off one arrow. You have one of the most epic humans on Earth who, not given a Green Lantern ring, actually had enough willpower to use it a little bit. And he told Hal, if I'm not mistaken, I felt like I haven't slept for a week. This is what it's like to use the ring all the time. And Hal just says, like, yep.
Yeah,
Shit.
damn. And I think just from quickly searching just up, we'll double check. Actually, I think there was more than one artist in that main DC Universe Rebirth book, and I think it was because it was Gary Frank and Ivan Reis, Ethan Van Sciver, and Phil Jimenez. But we gotta just double check that because it was a massive book, right? And it was many pages, and so I can it makes sense that they would have used
Just like,
these top artists.
it
Yeah.
showed how to really bring a character back.
Hell
And-
yes.
And Jeff Johns is like recently he's in like a new Image title, right?
Oh, right. This was news that just came out. Exactly. I just shared it with the guys. I don't remember that much about it, but exactly that he's writing his very, I think, first like creator or the first in many, many years, very own creator owned book for Image. And it's in the works that with Gary Frank. And apparently when I read the thing is apparently they were thinking about this project almost as soon as they were doing Doomsday Clock. And then as soon as Doomsday Clock was done, they just started working on that new project, which I don't remember what the name of the new book's gonna be, or I don't think there's also any
Is it, it's
date?
Geiger? Is that it?
Oh yeah, right, Geiger.
Watch that be a movie in like a year. You know, maybe this is like a little bit of the fallout, like with all the controversy surrounding him at DC. He's like, "Yo, I'm out of here. You guys are nuts. Everybody's trying to cancel me." He's done so much for that company. He was probably the main creative force behind the New 52, which a lot of fans didn't like, but I thought it was really cool. And him in partnership with another person that we just mentioned not too long ago was Jim Lee, another all-time great, living legend.
Word.
That's still doing good work at DC Comics.
That's true, and then many people that listen to our show obviously know that I'm the Marvel fanboy, right? And I used to be, but obviously I read everything, and good art is good art. But back in the day, I was one of those classic, like stubborn, in my youth about like I only read Marvel, and I'll consume like TV and film from DC without a problem, right? And I love Batman, and I might have read some Batman back in the day when I was very young, but not like that. But and actually, it was thanks to Rod, and specifically thanks to Jeff Johns, that just showed me like, fuck, like okay, like I get it, and then I was able to notice the difference in DC, right? And then I think we were just mentioning this in the last episode, right? Exactly. Like with DC, it's like we have gods, who are like, well, acting like humans. And like that's the dynamic. Whereas in Marvel, it's humans with powers, right? And that's a different dynamic. And I was able to appreciate that. And it's all really thanks to Jeff Johns. Because then after that, because I read his Green Lantern run, and then after that was just like, well, what else has he written? And it's like, and he's written so much, so many different themes, so many different heroes. And it's like, yeah, okay, awesome. All right, DC's pretty good.
And I mean, aside Rebirth, let's not forget, like, one of the biggest things I think to happen in comics, I put it up there with the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. The War of Light, good Lord, that was insane. Like, that was one of the biggest events in comicdom. Like, the psychological depth to work with this with the light spectrum and all the emotions, and to have to break down the different like core of lanterns and what it takes to become each one, and the complexity. I'd go as far as to say there were people that while they were reading that entire shit, like, they went on a personal journey at times just because of some of like the depth it took to develop the different lantern cores. Like, I think they discovered shit about themselves. I'm pretty sure some people even like I said, that shit made people think like, wow, that event was bananas, man.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorites. And it was cool because when he created the different color lanterns, it just like kind of took over. I remember I would always like get giddy when I would see random people like on the subway
Yeah.
with a random lantern core on their shirt. And like it's just so cool that it kind of spread. Like, his work is infectious. Like his work, like the Shazam movie, the Aquaman movie. Those scripts were ripped almost entirely from his runs. And shout out to his work on U-52 Aquaman. The first
Hell
time in
yeah.
my life I cared about Aquaman.
Totally. No, and exactly. And I know people say, obviously this is a common thing, right? That the source material, especially like in terms of books, is always better than the movie, right? And a lot of times with comic books, it's the same thing. Sometimes it will be a little bit different, like with the Marvel movies, that that it's not a complete adaptation. They're doing their own thing. But I will say, especially like with the movies you just mentioned, his Aquaman book is better than the Aquaman movie. Like, it's just, you can see how it's influenced, but it's just so fucking good. It's because even that, like, it shows that it makes you care about Aquaman. Like, really? Like, all right, whatever. And he even did it in such a cool way that he's even making fun of Aquaman in the book, right? The people are saying like, oh, you talk to fish, right? And he's like, well, nah, I don't really talk to them, but it's like, and it's cool, like, and it's like a little tongue in cheek, but it's like mad layers to it, and it's a great story.
Yeah, I like the way you say Aquaman.
I was thinking about that too. I'm like, I would read a book about a Jamaican Arthur Curry.
Word. Aquaman.
Aquaman.
Anyway, but I do think to mention about that, we were just mentioning the new book that he's going to write for Image, right? And then because as of now, he just finished his latest book for DC, which we've talked about it in previous episodes, but it's finally done. The Three Jokers. Batman, Three Jokers. Fucking wrapped up. And we have thoughts. And so we're going to go into discussion, a spoilerific discussion. So if you haven't read or finished it, stop right now and go read it. If you don't care about spoilers, well then follow, stick around. And then we're going to add a spoiler right here.
Spoiler alert!
So yeah, Jeff Johns has done so much amazing work for DC. I hope his relationship isn't completely severed. I don't know what's going on. Maybe nothing. Maybe we're just making a big deal. But anyway, I always wanted him to work specifically on Batman because he never, I don't think he did write Batman Earth 1, and he has written Batman stories, but I've always wanted him on that book. And the Three Jokers, they were deluxe issues. So it was almost like maybe like a 6-issue run almost, but you get three like books instead. So yeah. So about the story, first of all, the gorgeous artwork. Jason Fabok, he's probably one of my most recent. I love his artwork, and I didn't get to mention, my favorite artist. I wasn't gonna say like the usual ones that I always talk about. I was gonna go with Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. He's drawn. If you've ever bought a DC Comics T-shirt at Target or Walmart, that artwork, that standard DC Comics 1980s, 1990s artwork, that's him. And his grasp of the anatomy is brilliant. Like I remember being a kid and just being inspired by that artwork. So that being said, Jason Fabok, nice. He's like a callback. When I'm looking at Jason Fabok's anatomy, I'm like, holy shit, this guy like knows what he's doing, but yet it has that modern flair. So I won't gush on that too long. The story, it's a really good multi-leveled story. You get the Red Hood, you get Barbara, and you get Bruce, and they're entangled in this Three Jokers conspiracy, right? A lot of fuckery ensues. And the climax. So, this is a spoilerific review.
And before we go into the climax, like quick breakdown.
Set it up?
No, well, yeah, exactly. Like, what was it about again? Just like remind people like quickly what it was.
Okay. So there are 3 crimes happening at the same time. We were talking about Rebirth earlier. So in the DC Comics Rebirth with Gary Frank and Jeff Johns, they touch upon like this 3 Joker conspiracy at the end. There might have been a fallout from the Dark Side War. But yeah, another great book by Jason Fabok and Jeff Johns. So yeah, I'm getting off the trail here. All right,
bring it back home.
Bring it back home. All right, so there's a conspiracy, and now the 3 Jokers apparently they're the different instances throughout Batman's history. Like it's possible that a different Joker has been involved in these major moments, like the Killing Joke and so on. So then Batman. Apparently, the Jokers now want to leave clues to let Batman know that this is going on, and at some point, one of those 3 Jokers may or may not have been executed by Jason Todd, the Red Hood, and then this like kind of brings up this whole internal conflict with the Bat family because now this guy just murdered a Joker right in cold blood in front of Barbara Gordon. And Batman's like, we gotta let him slide. If we turn him in, then we might get revealed. So Batman, he's above the law, right? He sees himself as above it all. Like it's
to
whatever.
paraphrase Judge Dredd, he is the law.
Yeah. So basically, Jason Todd is like immune to the law.
Well, and technically, it was Jason Todd who said that, right? Because Jason Todd said to Barbara, "That's why Batman's not throwing me right now in jail because he knows I'm gonna have to reveal identities from people and that kind of stuff, And then Batman's just kind of quiet, and then obviously, eventually, Barbara, challenges him, saying, "All right, but do this one more fucking time, I'm gonna reveal my own identity, and like." Put a stop to you, but this fucking tension between them, it's intense,
right? And just to close off, so the 3 Jokers, they want to create the perfect Joker, right? That's their end game apparently to the story. Not really, but whatever. There's a lot of twists and turns with this one. So they bring in Joe Chill into the mystery, and for the fans, Joe Chill is that like character that in the dark alley, he's the one that shot Thomas and Martha Wayne. So they bring him into the story, and apparently, Jeff Johns keeps you guessing, like, who's going to be this perfect Joker? Is it going to be Jason Todd? Is it going to be Joe Chill? Like, what's going on? So yeah, gentlemen, take it from here.
No, exactly. And then the big thing about it, right, is the whole mystery about like, has there always kind of been because 3 Joker? Because the idea is also you don't know really who created. Like, who was the first Joker that then decided to create the other Jokers? They don't really completely say that. They hint the things are all right because there's 3, right? There's the criminal, the comedian, and then the who was the other one? The clown, exactly. And they don't really tell you who created who and how, since when, right? But the idea is that those 3 Jokers do want to create this better Joker, right? And in their mind, a better Joker is the Joker that means more to Batman, right? Means more to him. And they thought, well, who best than Joe Chill, right? The person who killed his parents, who basically created Batman. And so that's this whole fucking thing about going back and forth. So one, as a fan, right, you're wondering, all right, so then who's the first Joker and who created this, and does that even really matter who's the first one or not? But it is an interesting dilemma, no? And then should we just say then how it ends? Like, should we just fucking say it at this point? I mean, the spoiler alert.
Yeah, this is spoilerific.
Just to give the fans just some perspective. So it kind of goes like, so when you look back in the comics and you see that it was Batman and a young Dick Grayson with that super campy Joker, that's one of them. That's like the criminal because he's like the oldest one. Then you have the Joker that killed Jason Todd. I believe that's the comedian.
No, correct? I think that's a clown.
That's the clown. Right? Okay, that's the clown. Okay, and then you have the Joker that shot Barbara Gordon.
Right.
So just so fans understand that, like throughout history, those would be some of the pins that you could put on each Joker to place him, so to speak. Just so fans get some perspective on that.
Word, totally. And then if you're following that kind of chronologically, right? And even with the art, it looks like the Joker who's the criminal looks older, right?
Yeah.
Too than the others. So that makes you think he was actually the first Joker, really, and he decided to create these other ones, and then it goes from there. But it's still not very super clear. I think we have theories on it, right? But and I think just to wrap it up, the way it ends, you know, like Rod said it right at the in the first fucking book, Jason Todd kills the clown, which is the guy who killed him. And then towards the end, big epic battle, everybody's in it fighting, and then they have these army of Jokers, you know, of like Jokers that didn't really work, that are just like their minions now. And eventually ends up with that the freaking the comedian kills the criminal Joker, and basically just like there's only gonna be one, and in like it just epic Joker fashion, and just fucking loses his mind, you know, like laughing and that kind of stuff. And that's pretty much how it ends, right? And then like just like when Batman's kind of interrogating him, like he makes some kind of comment about um like who, like, you know, he created me, or was it I created him? I don't remember. Kind of leaving it up in the air about like, wait, so which Joker's the first Joker, you know, with all this shit. But apparently this Joker, right, the comedian Joker, we were led to believe that he's the one that we've read about in terms of the comics, that we know that they've como se dice, detailed his origin a little bit more, right? That those stories that we've seen, like we talked about it in the Killing Joke, right? A bit about like, well, it was actually a lot portrayed there in the Killing Joke, where that he was a comedian, you know, down on his luck, not doing well, eventually took on the mantle of the Red Hood and being the Red Hood gang, fell into the vat of acid that eventually we believe led to the creation of the Joker, right? So that's kind of like the best known Joker history that we have, and it seems that's that guy, right? And so we don't know. So that makes me think that that's the first Joker, and then he created this older one, the criminal, later, maybe, just because of the bat of acid, because I think he might have been, because he was the first one, right? Because that did happen kind of like by accident, right?
And then you have that big revelation where Bruce Wayne is stashing his actual family somewhere up north. Like, I'm sorry, I hated the ending.
Oh, right. Explain that. We didn't mention that. So what family? What are you talking about?
So the comedian, right? So he's a stand-up comedian. He sucks. He's abusive to his wife, yada yada yada. So I think it turns out that she like faked her own death or something, or Batman put her into like witness protection after he fell into the vat of like chemicals at Ace Chemicals plant, and he put him in like a safe house way up north. So since they're the Joker's actual family, if he finds out that they exist, they'll be in for a life of torment, just because the Joker is the Joker, especially if he finds out that he actually has a genetic son out there in the world who's a perfectly normal person. He'll find some crazy twisted way to ruin their lives. So it's kind of like Batman's way of, I guess, making up for never killing the Joker, for allowing the madness to continue in some weird way. I don't know, like the whole like.
Right, because that's the big kind of like other twist of it, right? Because like, when you're seeing these flashbacks, and even in the Killing Joke, they showed this, right? That, you know, that he had this bad relationship with his wife, but apparently, you know, she was pregnant, and then that's why he got into the Red Hood gang, right, to try to get some more money to help out with his family. But then she dies, you know, apparently like some kind of accident happened, and she dies. But apparently now we know that she didn't die, right? And she just escaped, and she had to run away and leave the comedian behind. And so Batman. So the one thing I do agree with Chess, I love the ending overall, except for this little one detail, right? Because obviously it ends with him, like, you know, wondering, like they ask him, I think, who was it? Was it Alfred that asked? I don't even remember who, but they asked, like, you know, so we'll never know who the Joker really is, and that kind of stuff. And then Batman says, I've actually known since the first week, you know, that I met the Joker, right? And then that's when we see this scene that he knows where his ex-wife and kid live, that the Joker has no idea that they're there, and that, you know, kind of twist that we're like, oh, Batman knew who he was all along. I don't like that. I didn't like that bit at all, because Because I'm thinking I don't think that's good storytelling, because I think this is stupid, because this whole thing fucking started because Batman asked the Mobius chair,
Exactly.
who's the Joker? Like, why would he have asked that if he knew it, right? So I think it's kind of a dumb, like, what are you talking about? Like, why did you? Because we know what he asked. Like, it's not like he thought something. No, he asked, like, who's the Joker? And then the chair said, like, there's three, and so that's the only thing that's like, what? And then, like, you knew all along, then why the fuck did you ask that question to the chair? Like, that's the only thing I didn't like.
I didn't like it overall because and by that I mean the ending, which is where shit got stupid, because so it's kind of like, so Batman sat in the fucking Mobius chair. That's literally like one of the, what would be the multiple of nexi, whatever. It's a nexus of all knowledge. Like, you can ask it anything. And for us to get this like vague, like Hitchcock-esque like ending where you have to use your imagination to reach conclusions, like it like it's kind of like the thread started out tightly woven and it ended up in a mess of shit.
All right, guys, wait, slow
Damn,
down a little bit.
shit.
Wait, slow down. All right, first, the actual question that he asked the chair was, "Who is the true Joker?" And
Okay.
by asking the chair that, you can infer that he knows that there have perhaps been imposters over time, but but maybe he didn't even know at the time which one. Well, yeah, it goes back and forth. He knew about this guy's family, but he still had questions as to, like, what is the Joker? Because, for instance, what Scott Snyder, shout out to him, another great Batman creator, what he did with the Joker was wild. Like, he made the Joker somewhat supernatural. Like, that was like a trippy cool story. Check that one out, for the fans. But I actually liked the ending because I like what Jeff Johns has done in his tenure at DC Comics, which is interweaving different things together. For example, the Doomsday Clock, right? He kind of makes Watchmen somewhat canonical, and then he did the same thing with Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. He did the same thing with a lot of Jim Lee's Wildstorm creations. There's another one. Yeah, and the Killing Joke, like, just like weaving these stories together and making one large DC Comics narrative. Like, and just making these legendary works part of the story. And yeah, the ending kind of like left questions. So one point about the ending that I liked was that I think he kind of creates, because the Joker's also like Batman's like opposite, right? He's also really high level. Shout out to like the Heath Ledger version. Like, he has contingencies and plans and all this shit too, right? So he puts like Batman in a scenario where he saves Joe Chill and thusly heals his childhood wound in an effort to become his deepest wound. I'm
that
like,
was
yo,
awesome. That was
deep.
awesome, yo.
Like,
Yo, I
was like-
love that. Yeah.
That was
He's
fourth
like-
dimensional chess.
It's like he's like his psychologist, right? He's like, okay, I'm gonna heal you so that I could fuck you. Like, I thought that was a great kind of cool ending,
Yeah.
at least for that back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. I
Scene.
forgot. Yeah, exactly. Because that fucking part is true. I feel Joker of him, right? Like, look, like, now I'm your fucking biggest thing. Haha. Like, that's the dopest shit. And so, no, and I think because that's why I love that ending, because honestly, it really doesn't matter. Like, all right, whose was the real first Joker?
Yes, it does matter.
Nah, I don't think it really matters, because especially given like what Rod was saying about Jeff Johns connecting all these different stories, and knowing that DC's continuity has been kind of a little bit all over the place up until Crisis on Infinite Earth. That's when they tried to fix it, and I think this is a good way of explaining who that Joker from really, like, back in Golden Age kind of comics could be a different Joker than the Killing Joker, and then from the Joker that fucking killed Jason Todd. It's like, I like that, and especially because I do think then they gave us the Joker we all like the most, like, because he's like the true, like, fucking sociopath that we know and love. but I feel like Ches has a he's about to say something. He's closing his eyes, but all beady and shit.
Also, well, okay, one, just like from I'll zoom out. It's I just don't like the fact that I feel like it left you with way more questions than answers when I was expecting answers. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I didn't get many. And second, I absolutely hated. Let me get this off my chest because I think the people need to hear this. I hated that whole thing between Barbara and Jason Todd. Oh my God. The thing when he goes and puts the note on her door and the door falls off. That was a waste of fucking panels.
Oh man, you're making me like this story even more. Go ahead, keep going.
No, I agree with you though. I didn't like that either. That's a good point.
Now, mind you. I would have liked it. If he put the envelope on the door and she finds it. And then shit happens from there. We'll see. But the fact that this uber tactical, strategic motherfucker chose some cheap tape for the envelope and pasted it on the door,
Word.
that makes no sense.
No.
That really, like all the bad communication channels, hacking shit, he puts cheap tape on a wooden door.
Right, just for the fans to know. So because what happens at the end, right? Because after Jason Todd gets all this crap from Barbara, right, about you fucking killed somebody, right? And that he writes this letter because first of all, old school fucking writing a fucking letter, right? And I think he makes a comment about it, like,
but I respect that. It's romantic.
That's fine, I guess. But even that, I didn't like that little weird romance thing, trauma bonding between him and Barbara. I'm like, I didn't really love that because I'm like, what's going on here? And that he writes this letter saying like, look, fine, I'll stop being the Red Hood and, try to be somebody else, like a different kind of hero, right? Because Batman also said that to him, like, try to take a new mantle so you don't have to, like, keep the Red Hood kind of, like, thing alive. And, like, he writes this letter saying, like, but I'll only do it if you respond to this letter, Barbara. And if you don't, I'll pretend, nothing will happen and I'll just stay the same. I don't like that because also, like, the way you said, like, Red Hood is fucking tactical genius. I don't like that he's depending on somebody else to decide who he is. Like, fuck that, man. Jason Todd's gone through so much shit, especially with these issues, that he can be his own man and say, no, I am going to be the Red Hood because I'm owning it and I want this to be it. Not being like, oh, Barbara, like, we kind of had a little thing right now. Like, well, if you want me to change, I'll do it. If not, bye. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, when is fucking Jason Todd so weak like that? Like, I didn't like that. I didn't like that bit either.
Okay, I don't know what y'all hate on the letter. I think it was kind of cool because there were shades of the Dark Knight, where like what's their face? Who's Bruce's love interest in the Dark Knight? And she was recast. Anyway, the DA's assistant, or she became the DA. I don't remember.
Oh, word. That was the actress from Dawson Creek, right? Like,
yeah, she like left him a letter, like, "Oh, I choose Harvey. I'm sorry."
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yes.
Oh,
her
Gyllenhaal,
like,
right.
Character, but yeah, that's the actress.
I know credits and shit.
Yeah, so I like this whole letter thing, and I think about another. Oh man, I was just gushing over Jeff Johns a minute ago. And I forgot about Flashpoint, right? Because not only has he done all this amazing work with Batman, also a good Superman run. It's maybe not like in his top 5, but I liked it. Really good stuff with, I think it was also Terry Dodson, if I'm not mistaken.
Bring it back to 3 Jokers. Bring it back.
All right, bring it back.
Bring it back home.
I'm bringing it back. Flashpoint, the letter, right? From Thomas to Bruce.
Yeah, word.
Right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I got choked up about that shit.
But that makes more sense. Yeah. Like that's a meaningful, like, I don't know, like I get it more, and the history in the character, like it makes more sense but it also, because for me it makes sense because I think Jeff Johns has experience writing Batman a lot, right? I don't think he has that much experience writing Jason Todd, and I think with this, I think the sense I got is that he was trying to write him the way he would want him to have been, but I think he did such a good job not ignoring the history of Batman, not ignoring the Joker's history, but I feel he ignored Jason Todd's history and all the good writing that he's had across the board, that I feel like this is out of character. I feel like, why is he doing this? Like, No, or build it up a little bit more. I'm not buying it that much, you know. I still love the ending though. There's still things I critiqued about it, but I loved it. Oh, and just to quickly add, I don't want to, you know, fact check the fact checker, but actually, what Batman asked the Mobius chair what's the Joker's true name? He, at the end of this book, he says that he knew who the Joker was since the first week he met him. So why is he asking what's the Joker's true name? Like, your argument, I guess, still holds. It can still be like because he knew there might be, I don't know, but I guess I didn't like the reveal. I would have loved for it to have just ended with Batman saying, "Yeah, we don't know," or something, and then like a scene that the kid and the mom is alive somewhere without Batman knowing, and it's a mystery for both Batman and the Joker. That's something they both don't know, but just because it started with that fucking question, you know, that makes me feel like, come on, Batman.
From the Mobius chair.
Yeah, like exactly. Like, do you know or not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, we're always going to be divided. But the one thing that we could agree on is that it was an amazing event, and it's definitely it addressed something that we've all kind of wondered over time, like, shit, how old is the Joker? You know what I mean? Like, it kind of put something into perspective. But overall, even though our opinions are a tad split, the one thing we all are united on is the fact that the art was amazing and it was a great event to read. It had its ups and downs, but those ups and downs were peaks and fucking valleys. Because good lord, that was an amazing art to read.
Yeah, I think it sets up a sequel too. Right? Because Joker says that, like, you know, he wants to not become like his worst trauma. So
yeah. And I will say too, I remember when we first started talking about this a few episodes ago, Rod, you had mentioned that you saw that this was an epic story in the making, right? Like that this is going to eventually, with time, be one of those epic Batman stories, right? Like we keep mentioning the Killing Joke and that kind of stuff, right? Like that this book will be up there with that, right? And we were saying that we weren't going to know that until we know the ending for real. With that, I think, yeah, I think so. I think still, like, even we have divided ways of thinking about the ending. I still think as a whole, these three books it's going to be one of those up there classic Batman Joker stories.
Word.
Do we all agree on that or not?
No, definitely.
For sure.
I agree. And on that note, something that rarely happens, we all agree on something. So that'd be a perfect way to cap off this amazing verbal audio adventure for all the fans out there. And guys, as always, it's a pleasure. It's an honor to serve with you, gentlemen, for the sake of keeping people informed, entertained in the real things that matter. For all the fans out there, keep coming back for more. I'm Chez.
You and I'm Miguel.
And I'm Rod. Peace out.
We're the Legion. Deuces.
Peace.
Legion on Zoom, starring and produced by Jose Perez, aka Chez, Rodney Martinez, and myself, Miguel Arce. Please subscribe on wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or shoot us an email at legiononzoom@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Legion on Zoom.